Hello and welcome to Combat Talk Podcast. My name is Charlie, and we are joined here with UFC Welterweight, Mr. Darian Weeks. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. How you doing?
All good, all good. So where are you joining us from right now?
In mid-Missouri.
Good, good. And a couple of days now until fight week of UFC 273. How's camp going?
Going good, going good. Feeling strong, feeling conditioned, feeling healthy. No injuries. 100% good. So I'm glad about that.
Is there any differences from your last camp compared to this one against for a certain opponent in Ian Garry? Is there any differences in your camp?
I got more than 4 days notice. But other than that, mostly in any of my camps, I try to just train hard. I try to train everything. You never know what an opponent's going to bring. They're always watching your film. They're always trying to look for weaknesses. So you always want to make sure you got a well-rounded wrestling game, jiu-jitsu game, and a striking game. So I've just been focusing on all three of those. I know he's a striker, but this game, it's UFC. So, he may come in there and want to play jiu-jitsu. He may come in there and try to just shoot takedowns. Really preparing for, the full, well-rounded game.
And, talk to me about, you mentioned 4 days notice. I want to go into that fight against Brian Barberena. You had an unfortunate but short notice loss by a decision. Even though it was such short notice, can you give us a bit of a breakdown about that? You took the news in such quick time. Just what was going through your head in those times?
Mostly the number one thing was, hey, the UFC's calling me, so you got to pick up the phone.
Exactly.
Secondly, it's just, it was 4 days notice. It was mostly the most worrisome thing was the weight cut. I walk around at a relatively heavy weight, to be fighting at 170. So to drop that so fast was the main focus and the main issue. But we got down there, we got to 170. And just taking all the fight weekend, in 4 days, I went from fighting on the, lower scene to in 4 days, boom, being right there in the UFC and all of its, clockwork. So it was, I wouldn't say a lot to take in, but it was definitely, very broad to take in, all in 4 days notice. But I loved it. I was ready for it. I went in there, I fought the best fight I could fight at that point in time, in that situation. And no one likes to lose. I, upset about the decision loss, but that just pushes you in training camp to do that much more work when you're in there for the next one. So you just want to push a little harder. You want to, be a little stronger, be a little faster, be a little more conditioned. So all that had played a part into preparing me for this UFC 273.
And so talk to me about your opponent, Ian Garry. Some would say a big fan base behind him, but so unexperienced, especially in the UFC. This will be his 10th fight in his professional career, second fight in the UFC. Tell me, by any chance, does that bother you by any chance, knowing that you would say unexperienced, but yet such a big fan base behind him?
No, it doesn't bother me. I understand the guy has, he talks very well, he woos the crowd pretty good, in his favor. He knows the right things to say and how to say them. That pertaining to fighting, I'm not going to say he knows everything about fighting. He's a good, strong athlete. He's a good striker, but there's definitely holes in his game. Definitely stuff that I feel like I can attack. Definitely stuff that, he may change up, and I've changed some things about my game as well. So I don't put him in the most experienced category, like you would say. Still definitely not a full experienced fighter. Still stuff to learn, especially at this high level, especially for me too. I'm not saying I know everything. There's stuff for me to learn as well, but I definitely feel like this is a beatable opponent, and this is a very winnable fight.
Did so thoughts on your on Ian's performance a few months back?
Yeah, he showed that, yeah, he gets hit, you know what I'm saying? He showed that he's reckless with the in and out game. He comes in with his face kind of upwards, you know. But that's a kickboxer's thing, you know, they come in and out like that all the time. He also, you know, doesn't like to stay in close counters when tacks are thrown. As you've seen, he was using the cage to his advantage, definitely, you know, using the ring to establish his game. But he's got a good counter game, you know, that guy did not take into consideration that he could still be countered, and Ian Garry capitalized on that. A mistake that I will not make. You know, I definitely understand what kind of range he has with striking, so we'll take that in consideration. But his first performance wasn't the greatest. There's some people out there saying, you know, oh my gosh, did you see his footwork? I mean, I don't understand that, but you know, it's fight game, fight fans. You know, fans are gonna like different fighters for different reasons, an accumulative of different reasons. So that's fine. I mean, it doesn't worry me no one bit. You know, he did all right for his first debut, and his second fight in the UFC won't be so great.
You mentioned that there were holes in his game. I know you're not going to give us a full game plan, of course, but how do you see the fight playing out?
I see the fight playing out. You know, there'll be some back and forth striking. There'll be some wrestling. There'll be some blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I definitely see the fight finishing with a unanimous decision win by me or a finish by me at 273.
Of course. And let's say you come out victorious and the game plan and everything goes well for you next week. What's next for you?
Whatever the UFC has for me next, you know. I'm glad to be at the top of the game right now. You know, the UFC is the top of the top that you can get in mixed martial arts. I'm glad that I get to participate in this organization. So whoever they hand me, I'll be willing to fight. I'm glad that you know, they picked me for this opportunity on UFC 273, one of the biggest cards of the year right now.
Definitely.
So I will you know, get a win over this, and I mean, I'm ready to fight whoever the UFC feels that I should be able to fight.
And last question, because I do not want to keep you here too long. That same event, Alexander Volkanovski takes on Chan Sung Jung. How do you see that playing out?
I see Volkanovski keeping his championship belt. He's a strong champion. He's been a dominant champion. We've seen him overcome a lot of things within fighting Brian Ortega, within fighting Max Holloway. And I just don't feel like the Korean Zombie poses a bigger threat as those people do, you know, especially in the game that they do. Brian Ortega is at the top of his jiu-jitsu game, you know, and he tried everything to get him out of there jiu-jitsu and couldn't. And as Max Holloway put it, he's the best boxer in MMA, you know, and his striking couldn't put him away. So I feel like he has the tools to overcome everything that the Korean Zombie can throw at him. But then again, it's also at the end of the day, it's a fight. It's a UFC fight at that. So it's two of the top athletes going against each other at the highest level. Anything can happen, you know. As you can see, him and Yari Rodriguez were going to a crazy, probably split decision. And Yari Rodriguez throws a backwards elbow within 7 seconds left. Things happen, you know.
Exactly.
So anything can happen. I'm swaying towards Volkanovski, but we'll see what the night brings us. There might be a lot of upsets that night.
Yes, and actually, just one question came to me right there. In your division, that night is a really big anticipated fight. Khamzat Chimaev finally gets some real good competition against Gilbert Burns, a former title contender. How do you see that playing out?
Yeah.
Because like a massive fan base when we talk about him, and finally some massive competition, which really could lead him to a title shot if he's victorious. How do you see him playing out?
I see it playing out. I mean, Khamzat's a strong wrestler. Gilbert Burns is a good wrestler as well. He's a good jiu-jitsu fighter. I mean, Gilbert Burns, like you said, I think he's number 1 or number 2 prospect. So, I mean, I really see Gilbert Burns coming away with the win, just
Okay.
because Osmont hasn't fought this top competition. That being said, like I said, Osmont done blew through everybody else that he's fought so far.
Very
You
true.
know, he's hit like what? I think it said 2 times in the last 3 or 4 fights that he's
Yeah,
had.
twice in 3 fights. They say he's been hit more than how many fights he's actually had in the organization.
Literally,
So, yeah.
literally. So that's pretty insane. So, I mean, I could see it playing either way as well with that. You know, I mean, if Khamzat's wrestling is as dangerous as they say, I guess we'll see a win by Khamzat Chimaev, and we'll see who fights for the title, because you know Conor McGregor said he's coming back and he wants 170. So we'll see. We'll see if he gets the title shot first, or if Khamzat gets to get in there and throw some things. So
Do you see Conor?
fight.
Do you see Conor getting that title shot the way he is talking?
I mean, I see him getting the title shot. Do I see him winning? That's another story. I mean, you come from fighting Dustin Poirier twice and losing twice to trying to jump up a weight class and fight a champion who's been unscathed in every championship match. So that's a bit of a big bite to take, you know, especially coming back in after sitting out for almost 2 years now again. You know, so we'll see what that entails, and let's see what happens after 273.
Great, thank you. That was it. Darian Weeks, UFC Welterweight. Do not miss UFC 273. Best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me.
No problem.